Well, welcome to Technology and Education Today. I'm Richard Smith.
And I'm Caroline Crawford, and we are coming to you from the University of Houston Clear Lake in Houston, Texas, USA. And today we are talking about different instructional design myths that people encourage or expect to be reality when in fact they're myths.
What's an instructional design myth?
Well, let's start out with instructional design is the concept of putting information out for people to see. Just putting information out there and people can figure out what you're talking about.
Okay, I'll play the straight man. Why isn't that a myth? Or why is that a myth?
There you go. It took the second time around, but you got it.
Why is that a myth? I mean, what else would you do as an instructional designer?
Because yes, you're presenting information, but you're making sense of the information as any instructor would. You're making sense of the information for the viewer, for the learner.
That must be that design part of it.
Yeah, who knew, right? But the concept is presenting information in an understandable manner. You can throw a bunch of information at somebody. Much like when e-learning first began. The constant discussion, professionally speaking, was, well, as long as you put the information out there, people can figure it out. It's like, no, that's not instructional design. That's not what we're talking about. So slowly people got around to the whole semiotic component, understanding the graphics and the visuals, but presenting information appropriately instead of throwing everything in the kitchen sink into an e-learning course. Nice little colloquialism. Framing the information appropriately so it makes sense to the learner.
Well, I think what happened in that instance was that a lot of people designing online courses just paid no attention to any of the design principles of people who had designed online instruction in the form of computer-assisted instruction or the instruction that was contained in the old integrated learning systems. And certainly that information was just not put out there for the student to make something out, try and figure out what was going on. It was very systematically designed, and yet there are all sorts of courses even now where people faculty members either at the high school level or the college level will put together a course without paying any attention at all to what has happened previously with courses online.
True. Well, this was way back when e-learning was first starting, and even the gods of instructional design were saying that, oh, as long as we put the information in there, they'll figure it out. We don't need to frame it for them. It's like, are you kidding me? I'm a novice in this field, and even I know that's crazy.
And you know where you see that now?
Where?
MOOCs.
Oh, yes. Yes,
in fact,
that's interesting. Every new technology, all of a sudden we have to start all over from scratch.
I just recently saw a TED's presentation, and it was something like what we have learned about distance learning from MOOCs. And
learn anything. Here, bad instruction. No. Well done to you.
Well, the reason you learned it is because you learned it by doing, because you didn't bother to see what happened before. But what's another myth?
Reinvent the wheel.
There's got to be another myth
besides.
Oh,
we do have another one. That technology actually significantly increases the learning process. Just throwing technology in there significantly makes a difference. We'll learn more because technology is included in the instruction.
Not only is that a myth for current use of technology, that has been the myth for...
That's like saying a pencil. A pencil is technology. It's a tool. A pencil makes a difference in your learning process. Not really.
You know, every study that comes out, just about every study where they scientists try to find out if some new technology teaches better than a previous technology or teaches better than a classroom teacher, the finding is 99 times out of 100, no significant difference. It doesn't matter whether you use film, doesn't matter whether you use video, it doesn't matter whether you put your course online. Students...
Technology is just an idiot tool. The humanistic side of it is what makes a significant difference. The instructor, the instructional designer, is what makes the difference.
It's the design of the instruction that's going through, that's reaching the students. It's as... for those of you who are familiar with the field, Richard E. Clarke did a definitive study, I think it was in 1984, where he really just made the point like with a sledgehammer and said, trying to say that the student learning improves on the basis of the technology used is like saying your nutrition of what the nutrition of what you eat improves based upon the truck that delivers the groceries to the grocery store. It's just not so.
Actually, that's a strong parallel. Well done to him.
Yes, well, that's why
It
he's.
is the silliest thing I've ever heard. Oh, well, we have new technology. We're going to get rid of teachers. Oh, we have new technology. People are going to learn so much better. Really? Who are you people? You're crazy.
Oh, you know what? Now, when you mentioned as just a little sideline
When I
here,
mentioned crazy?
no, not, a little sideline here. I don't want to get too wrapped up on it, but you'll notice that the common language these days, well, actually previously, is not on instruction, it's on learner. So that what you have is you no longer have teaching goals, you have learning goals. You no longer have instructional material, you have learning material, and so on and so forth. So
Oh, you found your soapbox.
I did. And 20, 30 years ago, you had integrated learning systems rather than integrated teaching systems. And all this is because the people who sell these things don't want to scare teachers with the idea that technology could take over their job. So
Technology can't take over their job. It's just a stupid tool.
well, if it's well-designed, technology can certainly take
It
over a lot
can
of people's
significantly
jobs.
supplement it, but honestly, no. There's still an artistic endeavor.
Yes.
There is still an artistic endeavor
Right.
associated with the instructional process that only an instructor brings.
Right, but if I have to get 100,000 students up to par at a minimal level of information, if I have to teach these in groups of 30, it's going to take me a certain amount of time. If I can teach 100,000 at the same time, maybe not as effectively as I can do it with 1 to 30, but effectively enough so that they all reach a standard, the technology can certainly help.
May help, but it doesn't replace.
Well, yeah, in this instance it would replace, not maybe, perhaps right now not as effectively, but...
So you don't
can
mind
see
dumbing them down. You don't mind dumbing down the product.
part of it, yeah, it's a question of your choice is to reach, maybe if you have to teach students how to read in a country that does not have a lot of resources. Do I teach 20% of their students to read like real experts, or do I teach 80% of their students to read at an acceptable level? Well, I'll go with the 80% of the students. But let's get off of that right now because we'll go back and forth.
Because we have a problem. We'll start a fight.
we'll start a fight. Yes, a fight. So, but what's the last one?
Another myth is that instructional designers should develop materials that meet each different learner's learning style's preference.
You sound a little skeptical.
I think it's the silliest thing I've ever heard. The subject matter and the quality of instruction should drive whatever instructional design process we're talking about. Learning styles, really?
Really?
Where is the research that suggests there's any statistical significance associated with learning styles? Yes, you may have preferences. Wonderful. There may be appropriate ways of learning the information through different means depending upon what the subject matter is. Wonderful. But that's an instructional design process. Learning styles has nothing to do with it.
Actually, the question that you asked, where is the research that supports that? Very good question. And the answer is simple.
Why, thank you.
The answer is
No
simple.
statistical significance.
There is no research that supports the idea that teaching to learning styles makes any
significant difference.
or has any positive effect on how well students learn. And that is the problem, because now we have a lot of people advocating that teachers and instructional designers teach to their audiences learning styles.
It happened in the 80s, in
Yeah.
the late 80s, early 90s, when I started
what it
teaching in
does,
K-12. Every 15 minutes, you have to change your learning style methods. Like, what? Are you kidding? But it was mandated.
And what this does is it takes teacher energy in trying to redirect what's being taught to various learning styles, and that has no effect at all. It's an incredible waste of time. And if, let's say, for example,
well,
let's
it's
say...
warm and fuzzy and oh,
Yes.
isn't it cute? It doesn't make a difference when we're talking
But
about instruction.
let's say, for argument's sake,
Statistically
that,
significant
that
difference.
it does make a difference. Well, wouldn't that imply that you would take all the students who are visual learners and put them together in one group, all the students who are tactile learners and put them together in one group, so that they could receive instruction that directed to their learning style 100% of the time, instead of what you were asked to do when you were teaching, is every 15 minutes change your way of teaching.
Explain to me, I'm an old English teacher. Explain to me when I'm teaching Shakespeare.
Former English teacher.
I'm a former English teacher. When I'm teaching Shakespeare to ninth graders, Romeo and Juliet, let's say, what is the tactile component?
Good question, because I have no.
Because I've seen them
But you're
build a Globe theaters. Like, that has nothing to do with Romeo and Juliet. What are you talking about?
I have no response for that, but the typical teacher response would be, some of the students will do, as you just said, build the Globe theater.
And what does that have to do with the play Romeo and Juliet?
Absolutely nothing. As
Nice,
far as learning
interesting
the
background
concepts.
information, but the integral, as you say, concepts that are supposed to be desired to learn, nothing to do with it. You're just wasting time. You're wasting my time and the learner's time on something that is insignificant in the greater realm.
Put your energy into designing lessons that are effective. That's what I say.
Framing the information is more appropriate. Conceptual understanding of the information. What are the higher order thinking skills that we need to focus in upon?
I agree, and that's our show for today.
Wow.
I'm Richard Smith.
I'm Caroline Crawford, and again, we are coming to you from the University of Houston Clear Lake in Houston, Texas, USA. Bye.